Hello everyone. Our topic right now is about pivot tables. So what are pivot tables? Pivot table is one of the tools that you can use in Excel to prepare summaries of your data and look at your data in different ways. So you can see here we have on this worksheet a set of data, and you have different fields: subregion, year, loan, and sector. Let's just say these are loans that were disbursed to these different subregions in different years and also in different sectors, as you can see here. So I'm going to scroll down and let's take a look at the data. We have quite a few rows right here. It's up to, as you can see, it's up to row 78. I don't know how many rows that is, but you have quite a significant number of rows. And of course, we have 4 columns right here. So basically, just to understand what this data is, it's loan disbursements. And these amounts are in the millions of dollars. Okay. And what we'd like to do is to prepare summaries for this data. So for example, I want to look at all the disbursements that were made for the East region. And it's kind of hard to look at this right now because I have East right here, East right there, and East right here. And if I want to summarize all that, to aggregate all these amounts for the East region, maybe I can do some sorting or perhaps some filtering. You can do that, but pivot tables or the pivot table tool will do that. That makes it a lot easier for you to do that, to prepare those summary tables of this large data set that we have here. Okay, so pivot tables can also, it sort of like helps you do the slicing and dicing of your data. Okay, so how do we insert a pivot table for this data set? Look at this data set. We have titles or field names, and then we have data. Some of them are just labels or text. We can consider the year also as a label. It's not really used for calculation, so that's a label as well. Sector is also a label or text. But this, the loan amount, is something that we can summarize upon, something that we can sum up or maybe even average if you like. So just take a look at the data that you have in your pivot table. So notice also that we don't have any gaps in our data, right? So everything is completely entered into the data set. So I think we're fine. Now you can create your pivot table without really selecting the entire data set, but you can do that if you like. You can select the entire data set like this. It takes a little time, and imagine if you have more rows, it's going to be harder. You can select it and then you can create your pivot table. But in this case, I will just place my cell pointer within the data set, and then I'll go to Insert, Pivot Table right here. And as you notice, it already selected that section of my data, which is from A4 to D78. So I'm fine with that. And I would like to create my pivot table in a new worksheet. I'll click OK. So you will see here at the left section is your pivot table, which is a blank one right now. There's no data in it. And on the right side, you will see here at the top the fields that you have in your data. So notice this has created a new spreadsheet or worksheet, sheet number 3 in this case. Sheet 1 contains our data. And of course, the same headings that you have here in sheet 1 are the headings that you have here also in your pivot table page. Okay. So I can only see the pivot table pane here at the right side if I click within this area of the pivot table. So there it is. If I'm outside, I don't see the pivot table pane. So I'll have to be within this area. So we have the same fields here: subregion, year, loan, and sector. And then we have the different areas of the pivot table. We have the columns area, the rows area, the filters, and the values. So how does this work? So let's start off with the loan amount. The loan amount is the only numeric figure that we can calculate on. So I'm gonna activate that or enable that. If I put a check mark here, notice automatically it was placed under values. That sums up all the numbers or all the figures under that column or under that field, loan. So you can see here 3,411. That's actually, since our data is in millions, right, dollar million, that's actually $3.4 billion, right? So that's the sum of everything. Now I'm gonna put in a little bit more dimension into this summary by maybe adding some fields in the rows or columns. I'm gonna start off with the rows, and I'm gonna use year right here. And you see I can drag the year field, and I'm gonna drag it here in rows. And look at that. See, year is over here in rows, and we have the loan right here, which is the sum of the loan amount. And look at that. There's now a breakdown of the loan amount, which is $3.4 billion. It's now broken down into, or by year, okay, from 2009 to 2018. So there's the individual disbursements, or the summary of all these disbursements per year. I can move this year to another section in the column, the field year. And now notice the year is now laid out as columns over here in the pivot table. And it also shows the summaries of the loan amount per year. And here we have the grand total. Okay, so let me bring back year over here. If you want to remove the year, you can remove the check mark right here, and it removes that dimension of the data. But I'm gonna bring it back, year right here, and then this time I'm gonna bring a subregion to the other side here in the columns. So notice that the subregion is laid out, or is rendered as columns in my pivot table. All the regions or subregions, Central, West, East, Pacific, South, and Southeast are here. And they're broken down by year as well. Okay, so now I have a deeper sort of like understanding, or a better view of the data. It's not just showing per year, but it is also showing per subregion. Okay, so you have the summaries right here per year, and you also have the grand total right here. Okay, can I change the two, like put subregion in rows, and then I'm gonna drag year into columns? Yes, you can do that. Now notice the columns are now filled with the years, and the rows by the subregions. You have the same data, but you did some sort of a transposition of the fields, but you have the same numbers right here. Okay, so the beauty of pivot tables is that you can present the data in different ways. You can change the layout, and without really using tools like sorting, filtering, right? So everything is here, and this is a summary of your data in sheet 1. Okay, so I'm gonna try two other ways here. I'm gonna put year under subregion, and let's see what happens. So now you can see, since Central West, or rather the subregions here at the top and underneath is the year. So it is laid out in the same fashion. Right here you have the subregion, and then the years underneath it, another subregion east, and the years, and so on. And you can even expand or collapse any of these subregions. I will collapse the East, Central, West, and the Pacific. And now I can see the summaries under those subregions. If I want, I can expand it again just to show the years. Now I'm going to try something else. I'm going to drag subregion and place it under year. So now it's year first and then subregion next. And now see, we have a different look at our data. It is now arranged by year and then by subregion. Okay, so now you can see a different view of the data, okay, which is really amazing, right? So that is how we use pivot tables. But before we go, I'm just going to bring this back here to columns, the subregion. And now what about sector? I can add that as one of the elements for laying out under rows or columns. But instead, I'm going to drag sector here into filters. What does that do? When I do that, when I place sector in filters, now notice sector is right here, and then actually now I can filter my data in different sectors. Okay, so I can enable this, select multiple items, and I can just filter it by sector. EN is energy. Let's say I want to show only the loans that were disbursed in the energy sector. So I'm selecting energy, and that's it. I'm going to click OK. And now I know that all these amounts, you see, not everyone has an energy sector disbursement, only a few years and also a few subregions. And so now I see those amounts. If I want to change the view here and I want to see only under the finance sector, and click OK. So these are the amounts for finance. So you can filter your data further, or you can have a different, say, look at your data by placing a field in the filter section. Now let me just remove the filter that is applied on the over here. I'm just going to remove the filter here, and I just want to show everything again. Okay, energy up to energy, finance, HR, and transport. And I'm just going to click OK to show all the data once again. Now, if I want to remove that filter, the sector filter that's applied here, I can go here in sector and then just remove it. There. So the filter is gone. And now we can try another layout before we go. I'm gonna drag sector right here under year in the row section, and now look at that information or the layout of your data. You have the different sectors placed under each year in the row section, and it also summarizes your data. And yeah, definitely you can use any of the fields in any of the areas that are found in the pivot table pane here at the right in order to show different layouts of your data and do some slicing and dicing of your data using the pivot table tool. And that's a simple discussion of pivot tables, and you can do a lot more with it. And I hope this helps you a lot. And that's it for now. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye-bye.